Hey guys, I'm back. I'm sorry I got cut off when we were talking about the boycotting. So let me pick up there. We're almost done. I don't want to take too much more time. But with the boycotting, the next guy we see, Martin Luther King Jr., is going to take up that calling, if you will, and that desire of boycotting. I don't know if you've ever felt this way before, but I remember growing up, my family would at least talk about it or talk about other people that are doing it. I think we did it a couple times. But um, for example, let's say a company. I The best example I have is Tyson Chicken. You may say, what is Tyson Chicken? They make like chicken nuggets, chicken strips, things like that. So they're a brand. Well, a couple of years ago, Tyson Chicken had openly supported the gay rights movement. So I know several Christians and some organizations are saying we are going to boycott Tyson Chicken because they support the homosexual movement. So we are not going to buy Tyson Chicken, which you may think, okay, what is that? You know, like I'll buy my chicken somewhere else. What does that actually do? What does boycotting do? Well, if now all of a sudden you had, let's say, every Christian in America, let's say that there are a million Christians in America. If a million people stop buying Tyson chicken, then Tyson chicken is going to feel the effects of the boycott, right? So now all of a sudden you have Tyson losing a lot of money because people are boycotting them. And that's exactly what's going to happen with the bus system during the civil rights movement. Now, Rosa Parks has set that standard, and Martin Luther King Jr. is going to come along. He's going to say, okay, listen, we are not going to ride the city bus. And now all the black Americans are not riding the bus. So all those people that were paying the bus to take them around the town are choosing a different means. So now the bus company is losing all that money and they have to say, okay, we have to do something. So the Supreme Court will actually rule and say, no, the desegregation is in effect, that you can't tell um, a person to use a certain seat according to the color of their skin. So desegregation occurs in Montgomery, Alabama, which is really the kind of the heart of the civil rights movement, and then it's going to spread. In fact, you read several organizations that are going to get involved in protesting for the civil rights. Notice the freedom rights, kind of interesting that these college students, both black and white, are going to travel throughout the South promoting this coming together and to desegregate that we're not going to say you can use this, you can't use that. And the biggest one comes with Martin Luther King's speech. 351, you can see a picture of Martin Luther King Jr. Some of you may have been there. If you've ever been to the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., that's where Lincoln's standing on his throne, right? Staring off into this pool, staring off into the Washington Monument. This is where the picture from 351 is taken. Martin Luther King Jr. is standing on those steps. If you've ever been there, you got to walk up these big thing of steps to the Lincoln Memorial, and then if you turn around on those steps, you can look over the pool over to the memorial, and that is where Martin Luther King Jr. will give his speech. Notice what he says. This is only part of his speech. It says, I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Now, that's in quotation marks. So why is there a quotation in his quote? Anyone know where that's from? It's actually from the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Now, he's going to promote that equal rights, and he goes on to say, I have a dream that my four little children children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of the skin, but by the content of their character. They're going to be judged for the person they are, not because of the color of their skin. And that's what he's going to be preaching. In fact, he comes from a pastoral family and he was a reverend. And he's going to use that to really promote the civil rights movement. Right below that, we're going to go on to the other accomplishments. One thing the major thing that's going on in the United States at this time is the competition with Russia, and that's with space. JFK is going to promote the space race heavily, and he's going to try and get America the first one on the moon. Now, that's not going to come till 69. That'll come much later after his death, but he's going to pursue this as much as possible. The very first American in space is Alan B. Shepard. This is not the very first person in space. Anyone know what country was the first to send the person? It was Russia. Russia was the first one. Notice the next year, Glenn is the first American to orbit. So Shepard literally just goes up and then comes back down. But the fact that he went into space was a big deal. The first American to actually enter space. Then John Glenn, he actually goes up into space and he will do a complete orbit where he will completely travel around the Earth, the first American to do so. So I want you to know these two guys. We're going to talk about the landing on the moon later in a different chapter. But these are the two astronauts I want you to know first. Shepard, the very first American in space. Now, two things that I want to mention to end our chapter. We're almost done. This is on 351 still, is the new frontier. JFK and many Democrats at this time following FDR, I know a lot of letters. FDR is Franklin D. Roosevelt. Franklin D. Roosevelt was the president of the World War II, if you remember, and he instituted a lot of government control. And one was this welfare program, or this idea of a welfare program, where the government is going to provide for its people, specifically financially. So JFK is going to come along with that, and his idea of this welfare program is called the New Frontier. Whereas, do you know what FDR's name for it was? It's actually in your book. It's called the New Deal. So JFK's was the New Frontier, and FDR's was the New Deal. Sounds very similar, but I want you to keep them straight. Because JFK's, what he's going to do is he's going to say the government needs a lot of money in order to give the money back to the American people whenever they're older, whenever they need help, whenever they don't have jobs. The government will provide this money for them. So how's the government going to get money? Taxes, which means the working people are not going to be happy with these people that are sitting home and getting a check from the government that aren't working, and yet they are the ones that are working and they're paying for that person that's sitting home. So some Americans are not very happy with the welfare program. Now, there are some with a legitimate need for the money, but as soon as people start figuring out, oh, I can just get a check from the government if I go on this program, and they're going to deceive their way into the program to be able to just sit at home and get a check. So this is going to be a major problem for Americans, especially the money that it's going to cost. Now, besides taxes, the government still realizes we don't want to keep raising taxes because American people are going to get upset, but we need more money. So what they do is they actually borrow money, and they borrow money through these treasury bills, what they're going to call it, which is a bond. I don't know if you've ever heard of a bond before, but it's you buy a bond from the government, and the government promises to pay the bond back what you bought plus extra money. So you are, whenever you buy a bond, you are giving money to the American government, and they are promising to pay it all back to you plus interest. So it's kind of like you're the bank, and the American government is taking a loan from you. It's a neat way to invest. It's usually a really safe investment as long as your country's doing well. And it's a way the government can get money. Many people will buy bonds for their children because it takes like 30 years to mature. For example, my family purchased bonds whenever me and my siblings were younger. And once we turn 30, then that bond will be available to cash in. Now, depending on how much your parents or you buy the bond for and how long depends on how much money you get in return. So it's a good way to invest. A lot of people like investing that way. Last one is the assassination on page 352. You see a picture of moments before JFK will lose his life. He's in Dallas. He's going through a parade, and he's with his wife. You can see next to him, and they're in this open car. Yes, there was a security detail, but really not like we see today. Not like car after car after car after car that you have no idea which one the president is in. There was no type of security like that at this time. So notice he's at an open car, the public all around him. He's driving to this parade, and in a warehouse in one of these buildings that you see was Lee Harvey Oswald. And he will take a shot at JFK, which will hit him in the back of the head. It will kill him instantly. He falls forward. His wife is there. In fact, there's a video of it because this was live streamed. This was on TV, and the American people are watching it. That he's driving. Now the video is pretty hard to see because one, it's older, and two, there's this street sign that as soon as he passes the street sign, you can hear the shot. After he comes back from the street sign, you see him lean forward, and that's when he was shot. So the American people are watching this, and they're watching it in horror, like what just happened? And they're in shock. All of America's in shock that the president is dead, especially this young, energetic president. And so everyone is asking what happened. Well, Oswald will be captured. He will be arrested. And as he's going to trial, as they're moving him from prison, Oswald, is shot by Ruby. So now there's this whole conspiracy of, was Oswald alone? Did Ruby shoot Oswald because Oswald was going to talk? Because is something else going on? Many conspiracy theories are starting. We don't know the truth to this day. Ruby says, no, I was just trying to avenge the president's death. If Oswald killed him, then I want to kill Oswald because of what he did to my president. Because a lot of people loved John F. Kennedy. In fact, if you go to Arlington National Cemetery today, John F. Kennedy will have a huge tomb that is totally secluded for him. And he was one of America's favorite presidents up to this time, and the America is mourning his loss, and they really treat him like a martyr for what he's done since he was assassinated. So very sad time for the American people, and it's really going to affect America. Notice his vice president, Lyndon B. Johnson. As soon as they hear the news, he's sworn in as president, actually on an airplane, and now he becomes the president of the United States. Something interesting, if you want to do a little extra work, I would look up the comparisons between John F. Kennedy and Abraham Lincoln. There's a lot of conspiracy about their similarities, like they were both elected the same year, but 100 years apart. They were both succeeded, or the president after Lincoln was Johnson, president after JFK was Johnson. So there's a lot of similarities between the two. Some are a stretch that aren't really true. You can kind of make them true, but it's kind of fun to see. I would encourage you to look that up. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll review on Monday for the test. So keep working hard, and we will see you guys next time.